Good afternoon, Warpugs. This is the first in a series that I'm going to call HFY Storytime, taken from the HFY Reddit. This particular story is called The Sale, and it was written by GIJoeVibin.
You wanted a good story? Well, alright. Here's one from my industry days. Until I got this job, I worked for what the humans called a think tank, writing analysis for companies, nations, and interstellar powers, wondering what equipment to buy for which job. I'm not foolish enough to believe that anything I wrote ever caused any procurement decision, but I know it certainly helped swing people one way or the other. And I enjoyed it, and I got paid a fair amount, so it was more than worth it. And so, my work would send me to exhibition after exhibition, traveling from star system to star system to watch manufacturers and salespeople make their pitch on all sorts of things. It was a good job, well paying, and I got to see a lot, although I find myself in my latter years less interested in doing that much inter-system travel, and so you find me settling down here. Of course, many of the people reading my work and making decisions would have had colleagues attend these exhibitions, but I often served as a sort of second opinion, particularly since I would put together a bunch of my research, make comparisons, and so on. A breathless colleague's glowing review mixed with a more sober assessment by me, that would often be enough to start a discussion. Anyway, the story. So I was asked to cover some expos in human territory, and it had been a while since I was there, so I jumped at the chance. Well, as high as a Valnor like me can jump. It's a figure of speech. Never mind. It was a long stay, which was unsurprising, as the shows were scattered across United Nations space and ran at different times, but I rotated from expo to expo, show to show, planet to planet, using the time between either to write new articles or simply explore the planet in downtime. A truly wonderful time. There were many air shows. Zhuhai, Farnborough, Bengaluru. I could go on, all fantastic experiences watching everything from fighters to civilian luxury jets showing off. A few demonstrations done in the void of space attempting to sell specific spaceship designs which were rather a treat to watch. The Pacific Coastal Republic put on a rather fascinating one near there that was entirely dedicated to logistical vehicles, and let me tell you, that had all three of my hearts racing. I could have spent a decade there looking at them all, but the one that will always stick with me was a land warfare expo on Nakula. No, hold on. It was Shadava. I always get those two mixed up. They're the binary pair of habitable planets, you see. Beautiful sight, but that's off topic. It was, as I said, a land warfare expo, one that was pretty popular with Hecatarian firms too, given the Vega system is rather close to Commonwealth territory. And given the planet was mostly uninhabited but still habitable, it had the advantage that the demonstrators got to go big, blow up vast tracts of land to advertise their new artillery and so on, without any real legal difficulties, or without being bothered by those pesky peace protesters. All very annoying, people complaining about the negative effects of the arms trade or whatever when all you want to do is just report on the latest weapons. So you would go out there, you would watch as whole battalions would maneuver and fight fake battles across open plains to entice you into endorsing whatever product they were selling. Tanks, IFVs, artillery, drones, fighters, gunships, you name it. And one day I'm watching a range day where various companies try to show off how their thing hits further and better than anyone else's. This was, for once, a rather big deal, as the Commonwealth had just announced it was seeking a new tank gun as part of a modernization program, so everyone was doing their best to impress. The organizers set out lanes for each company and parked a bunch of military vehicles at various ranges, so everyone would get to show how good they are at destroying each. The two major competitors in this undeclared bidding war were Hecatian Company and a Human Company. The Hecatians had brought out their newest design, an impressive model that was cheaper to buy and run than the Human competitor, and was based on the existing turret, thus making it rather appealing since there will be very little retraining needed and parts could be saved, or so they claimed. I later found out they had been slightly exaggerating just how much commonality there was. Their tank raced around, showing how the new turret did not impact its maneuverability. All of us spectators and interested buyers watching on a crystal clear drone feed. Then it raced up to its firing positions and began to let loose with its particle beam. It was really rather impressive. The flash of the beam, the lurch of the target, and the satisfying holes punched through each of them. All done as the tank flitted from position to position. The teams began playing the footage again and again, showing off the power of their weapon, their accuracy, and so on. Then came the human demonstration. Their tank did much the same in the maneuvering test, which was unsurprising given the whole point was a new gun, not a new engine. It sallied up to its first firing position, unleashed the particle beam, and much the same as had happened earlier was repeated. Except this time, the targets didn't just lurch with holes punched through them. No, they exploded, one after the other, burning fiercely as funeral pyres of black smoke billowed out into the sky. One of the targets to explode in this manner was rather conspicuously a mock-up of the competitor's turret. When it was over, the human marketers grinned and began looping their footage as the Hecatians quietly disappeared out of sight. Of course, there was something afoot with it all, but I wasn't quite sure what they had done. Wild theories flew back and forth between us observers, including the idea the weapon had somehow been overtuned, that the targets had some design flaw that had been exploited, that they had been extremely lucky, and so on. The Haitian team attempted to have their competitors thrown out, claiming they had broken the rules only for their attempt to fail. It was the opinion of many observers that the humans had somehow bribed the organizers to get away with this flagrant breach of the rules. I never managed to get a clear answer until I stumbled into one of the human team a few years ago and pressed her. She admitted finally that they had indeed faked a more dramatic result, except that said dramatic result was achieved not by any of our fanciful theories. Instead, they acquired large quantities of petrol. That liquid stuff you run really antique vehicles on, piled it up inside the targets, and when each target was hit... Since this was not technically banned by the rules, which specifically focused on placing explosives and detonating them rather than adding fuel for fires, they had gotten away with the whole endeavor. I asked why they had cheated at such an event, only for them to respond, it wasn't cheating, it was showmanship. Very different. The humans won that contract, by the way.